OMG OMG OMG. Hey there, hi and how are you all doing? Please sit down, I have a crazy theory for you all. Ahem, disclosure first though, TPOT 19 spoilers, go watch that. Plus, this video builds on my last video on this topic. It's up there in the corner, if you missed it. And now, I need to level with you guys for a bit. My explanation to just debunk BFDIA as non-canonical doesn't hold the strongest water. I wanted it to be a fun way to say that those episodes were bonus episodes. Like, you can watch them as a nice addition, but not mandatory for the show. So filler would be a better word for it. But still, it has some elements that you can't really watch it all at once with the rest of the show. Go watch the previous video for details why. We are not discussing that though. We are talking about something insane that tickled into my frame the other day. So, hear me out. I think BFDIA is by design, a broken timeline of BFDI. Now what does that mean, a broken timeline? Well, to put it simply, a split timeline is when someone messes with the past, changing the events of the future. Like going back in time, and letting Leafy on Dream Island. That timeline would be different, and let's say, when the timelines were saved. Would it cease to exist? Easy answer, no, but that's just to keep things clean in our timeline. I think, the reality is, every time they traveled back in time, they made a new timeline. And the reason the main timeline cracked and broke, was because this timeline was hopping into the past and splitting at unexpected ways. Sure, a timeline can probably survive a bit on its own without interfering, but if you kept tearing at it and breaking stuff, it would only collapse under pressure. So now that we have this down, why do I think post-revival BFDIA is the result of messing with the past? Well, because it seems to be the perfect dream for a specific character that we know. And it seems they just went back to mess with it. BFDIA marks the beginning of one of the OSC's most popular friend group, and it seems to have hit its high in BFDIA. So, if theoretically, if someone like Pencil wanted to stay being friends. Oh yeah, I am going there. I think one sent Pencil back to BFDIA 6 to right her wrongs. And keep her friendships going. She values Ice Cube now, suddenly so open to letting new teammates in. Getting buddy-buddy with Book and Icy, just to make sure they don't leave, while Match is being brushed aside. Her at that time, best friend? Why would she ignore her? For the game? Or because she's focusing on someone else right now? She's focusing on doing good for FreeSmart. Like you can't say it's for the game, because she seems incredibly happy when she's eliminated because she can hang out with Ruby and Ice Cube. No, Pencil is prioritizing the friend group. Some would say, she's having a second chance. Now, there's a few things to counter this theory. The show has a few BFDIA references in TPOT. Like Rocky's elimination, Needle being a kind of FreeSmarter, but just those two. It really seems like not that bad. So let's go over the facts we know about our main timeline that the show states before TPOT. Announcer has been working in the shadows of BFDIA and made sure TV could host. Gelatin has never been eliminated. TV ends up in the locker of losers, and that these specific votes are the biggest ever. Let's work together to tie these points into a working theory. So, Announcer and TV were working with each other, right? What happens in BFDIA 7? TV is locked away. I would say Announcer doesn't have any connection to the show anymore and would probably consider it a failure by that point. And he'd probs leave. So now, 4 says he loves BFDI, watches every episode and has it memorized, the first and second season. You think 4 would bring up the fact that they received hundreds of thousands of votes in season 2? Right? Well, unless by some point, the timeline split, and the votes were much more average when 4 was watching the show. Since they would remember the original timeline, it makes sense why X says, that's the biggest ever. So let's say that in the original timeline, BFDIA ended when TV was voted out, or well, when Rocky was to be eliminated. They realized that with no host, why should they compete? Sure, in BFDIA they retrieved the fiery speaker, and the puffball speaker and yada yada. But what if in this timeline they just stopped? Decided living in Yoyland would be way funner than competing. And that's where IDFB continues. I am sure in some way Rocky would get his barf back. Pin would still consider BFDIA lame, and Fries and Puffball are totally friends now. But when Pencil comes back in the show, she changes how things play out. Just her attitude change is enough to get the contestants to want to keep battling with the fiery speaker box. And oh hey, would you look at this special item that her team finds? One would most likely never have let Pencil go back. Why would she even bother? Just kill her and get it over with. But she seems sympathetic to her cause, her struggles. So maybe, just maybe, she helps her out, no strings attached this time? But come on, this is one we are talking about. There are always strings attached, so let's go over to what one could want from Pencil going back. Oh hey, there's the oil light that she seems to be amazed over. Now, call me a bit crazy, but I think we can say one would definitely most likely want this stone. But in the current timeline, BFDIA doesn't continue to result in the oil light even existing. So what does she do? She sends Pencil, and Pencil probably doesn't even realize it yet, but her being there, practically at arm's length of the rock, is slowly and surely going to bring it right to one's grasp. So that's why one sends Pencil back, so she can actually even achieve her plans. And now this might be a bit difficult to understand for the timeline sense, but ever since the moon got cracked, we've seen BFDIA be referenced in TPOT, and I have to say, it could be a coincidence. Or a hint that one has been plotting down her entire scheme from the start. Let's say in this case, sending Pencil back creates a paradox for the one we see in our timeline, granting her access to the oil light. But to do so, she would have to erase a bit of Pencil's memories so she fits in the past more and not cause trouble with said oil light. Just give her the strong desire to fix free smart. And eventually, things line up just right for her. And that's my theory, that's my elaborate way of tying BFDIA's nonsensical canonicity into the bigger picture of Battle for Dream Island. It is an alternate timeline that was created to make sure one could find the oil light as a result of her and Pencil's deal at the end of TPOT 19. So now think a bit more before recommending new fans of the show to watch the canonical order of episodes. Because BFDIA will only make sense after TPOT 19. Hehehehe, or something I dunno. Lol. Phew, that was difficult to explain, but I think I did a great job on it. Of course, it's just a theory, and there are bound to be holes in it, like last time, huh? Go ahead and tell me some points I missed. I'd love interacting with you all in the comments. Highlight of my day. Well, thanks for watching, bye.